Welcome back to the channel. My name is Stephen Howson. This is 5 things that we learned watching Manchester United against Aston Villa in the League Cup. Now, the first thing, straight off the bat, Garnacho, excitement. Some wonderful football from him, some wonderful dribbling from him, attitude, aggression, confidence. He had another good, solid performance that's going to put pressure on the other players around him. And that's all you want every single player to do. You want every single player to come in and make the manager's job hard. That's what you want. If you're 3rd or 4th in the pecking order, you want to come in and make it so the manager has to come and tell you why you ain't playing this weekend. It shouldn't be a given. He needs to go be like, listen, Garnacho, not this weekend. You're doing well, though. You want to make him have to come and do that. Make him feel like he has to tell you you're not in a team. If you're the kind of player that the team gets put out and no one texts you, but you ain't playing, it's probably not good news for you. Last night, he put in a very, very strong performance. 2 assists, 1 out of 1 cross completion, 2 big chances created, 2 out of 3 dribbles completed, 3 ground duels won, and 100% passing accuracy from a winger. Number 2. We need more players. The starting 11 is extremely thin on paper. This weekend, we don't have Diogo Dalot because he's going to be suspended. The starting 11 on paper is good. It's getting really good. But outside of that, it falls off quick, doesn't it? It does fall off with a serious quickness. As soon as there's injuries, as soon as there's a suspension, we've seen it with Bruno. Undoubtedly, we're going to see it time and time again with Martinez, I feel. We've seen it with Varane when he picks up an injury. The next line of players, Garnacho aside, that are coming in just aren't quite hitting the same heights that we've seen the first 11 hit. Now, I fully expect Ten Hag will be given the time to implement all of the signings that he needs, or promotions, hopefully, that he needs to be able to make, so he's got a squad that he can depend on with depth. At the moment, it ain't there, and you're never going to do it in one transfer window. It'd be mental to assume otherwise, but it's worth talking about. You're going to need to fix that at some stage. Number 3, Rashford and Bruno are back, man. Rashford and Bruno last night, on top of Garnacho's little cameo, sensational. Very much so with Marcus, because he's had a very rough 2 years, I would say. I think probably both of them struggled last season because of the expectations that they'd created of themselves in prior seasons. But they showed their quality last night, and they showed their cutting edge, and they showed why they're integral parts of this football team. A confident Rashford is a top player. How top? That's up for debate. But he is a top player, and he's capable of scoring goals, a lot of goals. Bruno, we know he can be one of the most effective chance creators in the world, and he also chips in with some goals. Last night, Bruno, 9 touches, 4 long balls completed, 4 shots on target, 3 tackles won, 1 key pass, 1 assist, 1 goal. I mean, if you're talking about what can we do out of a performance, you're talking here about this is what a performance does. And point number 4, in fact, 4 and 5 are going to touch on a midfield here. Number 4, I thought Eriksen had one of those games where he changed the game. He was just, in absolute simple terms, an upgrade on Fred. He is such a good footballer, such awareness of what's going on, and so calm and composed in what he's doing. He's really made that deep role his own at United. Really just owned it. And he's dynamic. He does seem to get forward a lot more than you would assume. He manages to get right up onto the edge of the opposition box where he can create stuff. He was the one that came on and allowed McTominay to get forward and become a nightmare in the opposition box. The fact that his ability can rub off on other players, like you hear people talk about that all the time. It's easier to play with better players. Better players make you a better player. But Eriksen, Bruno, Casemiro, it's been a minute since that United had a midfield that you could be proud of. But I feel like we are at the stage where we have got a midfield that Manchester United fans can be proud of. And it's took a long time to do it. Erik ten Hag's come in, boxed it straight off, and started. And is it any wonder performance levels have risen? And we said we was going to end it talking about a midfielder, but I really do think Donny's time is running out. He struggled last night again. And I did see people talking about his off-the-ball runs. Do you know what? Marcus was making off-the-ball runs still last season, and he was getting into good positions. And that's one of the things that you notice from where my season ticket is in the Stretford end. It's a very tactical view. You can kind of not have to move your head. I'm very high up. You don't have to move your head, and you've got like a full tactical board view of the pitch. So if there's any movement anywhere, you notice it. I actually think if I was part of United's coaching setup, I wouldn't have someone in the main stand where the view's actually still quite shallow. I'd sit someone like right by where I am, because the tactical view of the entire pitch is brilliant, and offers you a lot that I don't think you get from a side angle. But anyway, it wasn't getting picked up by any media, wasn't getting picked up by the commentary. But last year, even though he wasn't pressing enough, he wasn't outputting enough, he looked lazy, look, everything was off apart from one aspect of Marcus's game last year, and that was he was running off the ball. And he was making good runs, good intelligent runs, out to in to out, across the back of stuff, and no one was finding him. Now, there was 7 or 8 other aspects of his game that absolutely weren't anywhere near good enough as well, but he was making runs. Now, people correctly pointed out Donny was making pretty good runs at the weekend, and when he was involved in 1 and 2 touch play, he looked good because he's genuinely good at that. But more often than not, what he's putting out isn't good enough. He doesn't look like he's got the pace, doesn't look like he's got the physicality, doesn't look like he's got the stamina to play Premier League football, and I can't make any sense of it. He's had opportunities. And if we go back to point 1, Garnacho was coming as cold as Donny van de Beek is. No one's demanding Garnacho gets chances. He's like, what do you want me to do? Score goals and create goals. Yeah, no problem, watch this, right? That's what we want Donny van de Beek to do, and he's incapable of doing that. The last excuse was that he couldn't get a run of games. He needed time to settle. Well, all of those things now can't be shown as excuses. You move Bruno into a central area for 30 minutes of a game where Donny played 60 and Bruno's immediately effective. You bring Garnacho on against the same opposition, immediately effective. There's a common denominator here. The performance last night, the weekend, Real Sociedad. I will be amazed if he's in the starting 11 against Fulham. Amazed. Genuinely amazed. And if he does start, it might be his last chance. It might be his last chance. I don't know where he goes. I don't know what you do with him. But it does not bode well for wherever Donny van de Beek is going to end up. But Manchester United progress. We have got a tricky old tie now against Vincent Kompany's Burnley in the next round, which is like minutes after the final of the World Cup. How that's going to be managed, I don't know. Maybe Donny van de Beek plays in that game. And maybe that's where he starts to get some opportunities now. Don't know. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe. See you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.